With the Roswell Police Department. Look at me when I'm speaking to you. Getting cold yet, Ann? You can take it. Cool. So can I. Because I've got heat in this car. Yeah, he ain't gonna say anything if it's warm.
If what?
I said he ain't gonna say anything if he's up there in the back seat and it's warm.
The video starts with a female officer of the Roswell Police Department stopping a golf cart operated by a teenager. The teen appears confused and has vague details about where he is coming from and where he is heading to. He seems nervous, unable to answer the simplest questions the officer has, and decides to detain him until she has a better understanding of the circumstances.
Alright, go ahead, step out for me. Alright, go ahead, take your backpack off. I'm going to search you before I put you in my car, okay? Alright. Oh, don't turn around on me. Alright. Give me your arms. You're just being detained right now, okay?
I would like to point out that yes, this is a legit lawful stop, there is no question about it, but what I failed to understand in so many of these videos is the amount of police responding to a situation that seems to be peaceful. So far, there are 4 officers at the scene, and I always have to ask, aren't there any more crimes in these cities? At the moment, we can all agree the officer has a reasonable suspicion to detain this kid. The officer informs the boy that he is being detained and starts patting him down for weapons and putting him in handcuffs. The female officer starts a kind of soft interrogation with the teen.
Help me find your mother for you, okay? And then we'll release you to your mother if everything checks out.
My mother's not here.
Your mother's not here? Where is she?
She's on a date.
She's on a date? So you took the golf cart without her permission?
Yes.
Yes? Is it really her golf cart?
It was the company's golf cart.
Police can technically interrogate a minor without a parent or lawyer present, but any statements obtained may not be admissible in court without a proper Miranda warning. Police officers must be careful about the way they handle interrogations of minors to ensure that any resulting statements can be used in court. If you are a parent, please talk to your kids about the constitutional protection they have under the Fifth Amendment. The right to remain silent is very easy to follow and should be the one they always assert in police custody. Overall, this should have been a typical police interaction, and so far I would have given these officers a 4.5 out of 5, but then enters police officer Daniel Elzey. Officer Daniel seems to have had enough of this kid and asked the female officer to step out of the vehicle because he has a plan to get this kid to talk.
And I'll be back with you in a minute.
Officer Daniel purposely lowered the patrol car's window and turned off the heating in 20 degrees weather. That is 10 degrees below freezing, and why would he do that? In order to give the kid some time to think. In case you didn't know, this is not a standard police procedure. Now, let's be clear here about a few things. Yes, this kid was driving around a golf cart without windows or doors, so he was already being exposed to the cold willingly, but let me remind you that the police are obligated to ensure the safety of all individuals under their custody, including protection from self-harm. This principle is anchored in the concept of duty of care, which is a legal obligation that requires the police to act towards detainees in a way that avoids preventable harm. Under this obligation, if a person is deemed a risk to themselves, law enforcement personnel must take necessary measures to prevent that person from inflicting self-harm. This can be seen in action when someone out of anger starts smashing their head in front of cops. If you think that this kid deserved to be left outside in the cold as an act of punishment for not complying with these officers is okay, let me remind you that broadly speaking, any act causing severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, with a specific purpose such as obtaining information, punishment, or intimidation, can be classified as torture. While this kid suffered, the officers went into Officer Daniel's patrol to keep them warm. Did I mention it is 20 degrees outside? He won't say anything if he's sitting there in the back seat and it's warm. Officer Elzey is heard saying in the footage. He jokingly said, "That's why I rolled down the windows, so he can sit over there and be cold." This is disgusting behavior and demonstrates a lack of professionalism and compassion towards this kid.
Yeah, he ain't gonna say anything if it's warm.
If what?
I said he ain't gonna say anything if he's up there in the back seat and it's warm.
Oh.
So he can sit over there and be cold.
Well, okay.
That's why I rolled your windows down.
Oh.
Fine.
And
a few minutes to think about it.
Should I call an 85 for the golf cart?
Yeah.
Okay.
After 10 minutes, both the female officer and Officer Daniel go back to interrogate the suspect. He starts taunting the kid that he can easily get out of the cold because he has heat in his car, Unlike the suspect, he points out that it is so cold he can see the kid's breath as he starts to interrogate him about the whereabouts of his mother and where the golf cart came from.
Getting cold yet, Anthony? You can take it. Cool. So can I. Because I've got heat in this car. See, with the Roswell Police Department. Look at me when I'm speaking to you. You can't be driving a golf cart in the streets. You understand that, right? Yeah, I can see your breath. It's pretty cold back there.
Officer Daniel let the suspect know that only after verifying that the information he provided to them is legit, only then he would be turning the heat back on. From an ethical perspective, it raises a few issues related to the conduct of the police officer.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna drive to this address you gave me. You live in Alpha. To this address, you gotta hang tight right here, since you can't remember Mom's phone number. And if I can make contact with Mom, then we'll get some heat going. All right? You hang tight.
By withholding heat until the suspect provides information, this is not only unethical, but it could also potentially undermine the legal process, as coerced information can often be challenged in court. Withholding heat could be considered inhumane treatment, especially if it puts the suspect in physical distress or danger. It's important that suspects are treated humanely and with respect, regardless of the crimes they may be accused of. The Fifth Amendment is the right to remain silent without this having negative implications. Officer Daniel's actions might infringe on this right by implying a punishment, that is, continued lack of heat, for exercising this right. He is freezing him out. The female officer can be heard in her body camera. Knowing what he is doing and the purpose behind it makes you an accomplice of Officer Daniel. As an officer of the law, besides enforcing those laws, you should advocate for victims like this kid. You know that this is questionably wrong, but did not act and stand up to Officer Daniel and voiced your concerns about this situation. This is abuse and neglect of a detainee, and it happened right in front of you in your police patrol, and you did nothing to stop it. Shame on you.
It's chilly.
18 for wrong way driver.
Aw, man. Is it cold in the car, you're asking? Yeah, it's freezing in there. Well, he's got all the windows rolled down and the heat off. Yeah. It's like on the border. Alright, so what's the verdict?
They're going to jail.
Oh, okay.
Ultimately, this incident, as well as two others involving officers of the Roswell Police Department, caused the firing of 3 officers, the early retirement of another, Officer Daniel was demoted from sergeant to police officer, and the resignation of the Roswell police chief. How corrupt was the Roswell PD? In a police report, the department described the boy as a troublesome teen who constantly frustrates his mother and 2 older brothers, and has been suspended several times. This was purposely made to make this kid look bad, and although there is some truth to it, the report did not mention the officers intentionally leaving the boy in the car, meaning that they were okay pointing out the bad behavior of this kid while leaving Officer Daniel's behavior out of the report. How convenient.